Hi, this is the functional mushroom video with Kara, and I wanted to ask her some questions about functional mushrooms. So the first question I want to ask, oh, well, you could tell us a little bit about yourself if you want. Kara.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I have been researching functional mushrooms for the past, I think I'm on almost year three now. So I started a few years ago. Oh, excuse me, year four. So I've been doing at this for a few years. So I have dove deep into my research, lots of trials, and the outcome I have now is that I'm a huge fan where I have started a small business that helps people with their health of offering functional mushrooms.
okay, and can you like give us some examples, like names of some of them and the health benefits?
Yeah, so functional mushrooms are mushrooms that have a specific health benefit function, more than just the regular mushrooms that you get at the
Hmm.
grocery store. Some of these you can buy at the grocery store, but there are essentially what I call like super mushrooms that have more of a health benefit than others, like the white button mushrooms.
Yeah.
So the top five that are my favorites are lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, chaga, and cordyceps. Those are the five that I have in my shop. And I also have another one that I'm a super big fan of, and you can't buy these at the grocery store, and that is shiitake mushrooms.
Oh
Shiitake
yeah.
mushrooms have amazing health benefits as well. And that's my next tincture that will come out in my shop as well. So those five particularly are thought of as having more than just the minimum health benefits, that they have a multitude of health benefits to
Oh,
help you become an optimal version of yourself.
awesome. Yeah. And I've been taking them a lot recently. Oh, I wanted to ask you this. If you can tell me a version of who you were like before taking functional mushrooms to, the version of who you are now, like after taking them regularly, um, who's that person you used to be versus the person you are today? If you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I made a huge difference in myself. A few years ago, I had a friend come to me and tell me about I think lion's mane was the one that she started with, lion's mane and turkey tail. She was having health problems and telling me how she benefited from taking these mushrooms that
Mhm.
she bought at a natural store. And I thought, wow, she's a really smart person, but I just don't know about this. That just seems kind of weird. And I was telling her I was nervous about an upcoming test that I had to pass, that I had failed in the past. And so I wanted to it was really important to me that I had the best focus possible. So I
Mhm.
was looking for a supplement, and she had mentioned that I should try lion's mane. And so I was not a huge fan at first, but I was so desperate. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. And so I went to Whole Foods and bought a supplement for lion's mane. And even when I was purchasing the lion's mane, the person checking me out said, "Oh, I've been taking this for years. I'm glad it's catching on because it's helped me so much." And I'm just like, okay, we'll see if that works or not. And so initially, when I first started, actually from the first dose, I noticed a change in myself. I noticed that I was able to focus better, that I had a calm effect. It was like having a cup of coffee, but I was slowing down enough that I could focus and study better, and had this window of time where I had the optimal focus that I was looking for with the lion's mane mushroom. And
Yeah.
so with that, starting and realizing I had something here, and then going through this training program where I had to pass the test, I became friends with other people, and they're like, "How come you're so calm when we're so stressed out about passing this test? Because if you didn't pass, then you would get kicked out of the program." And it was really embarrassing. So we all wanted to be our best.
Yeah.
And I started giving out lion's mane to people to help them with passing their test. And the other problem that we had with going through this training program, being in close quarters, it was during COVID, and I started taking a turkey tail mushroom. Turkey tail mushroom helps boost your immune system. And so with the combination of the two, I realized I was focusing, passing all my tests, I wasn't getting sick. And I was like, okay, there's something to it. And so I started buying bottles of this supplement that had lion's mane, because I want to know, is this a placebo? Is there something here? And so I started giving them out to people. I think I bought 30 bottles,
Oh,
and
wow.
the general consensus with most people was they felt a calm, focused duration for a few hours, that they were able to really feel that difference with taking that supplement.
Yeah.
And so that's what started my research. That's what started the person that I am now, that has built this business of educating people on the health benefits of mushrooms.
I when I was in Wisconsin, I went into a place that had like a bar, but it wasn't like a bar, like alcohol. It was mushrooms, like functional mushrooms. It was CBD. So like whenever you ordered a drink, it was like, a bar, but it's like they're trying to make it where instead of, it's not your typical drinking alcohol bar. It's like an actual bar with actual good things healthy for you. So that was awesome. And I'm sure that's probably something like you're focused on, is trying to, create those changes in the world where we have functional mushrooms as a way to, health,
Absolutely.
change for the health,
Yeah, imagine
for health.
that kind of world where you go into a bar and you come out feeling better about
Yes,
yourself,
exactly.
accomplishing, yeah,
Yeah,
being able to accomplish more. What kind of world would we have if that was just our norm? That was our standard, was constantly improving ourselves.
yeah. So, I wanted to also ask, how long does it take for them to work? Like,
Me personally,
yeah.
I noticed right away. I noticed, and a majority of the people that I have done trials with noticed it right away. But I've read
Mhm.
lots of research that say it can take 30 days to feel the effects. But honestly, I felt it from day one. I noticed something was different. I noticed that I was able to focus better. Most of my life, I'd struggled with ADD and not being able to pass tests. And so that was my moment where I was like, okay, this is something that I've been looking for years, and I didn't even know this was possible, because before I had relied on caffeine, but taking too much caffeine, I would just become this like ball of chaos where I can control my energy and I would start to shake. And I became so dependent on it. And it was just, caffeine's highly addictive.
What's the difference between like lion's mane or like another kind of mush? Like, is it just that they all have something special for each one,
Yeah,
or?
they all have different health benefits. Lion's mane in particular is the mushroom that helps with neurological issues. That's the one that helps with your memory, with focus. Lion's mane also does help with gut health. Most of the functional mushrooms do help with gut health and help boosting your immune system as well. Lots of studies right now on lion's mane. John Hopkins is doing one about the health benefits of
Mm.
elderly people and how they are um, helping their cognitive function by taking lion's mane, and that also with combined with the psilocybin mushroom, how it amplifies the effects to have a reversed Alzheimer's effect in
Okay.
in people. And so on my site, on my Soma Shaman website, I do have the list of the health benefits, and as well as on my Instagram for Soma Shaman, I have some of the health benefits. I have different times a day that I take different mushrooms, and turkey tail in particular is one that I increase when I have a feeling like a cold is coming on. And I haven't been sick for years. I haven't had a cold respiratory, even living with my son, and he was dealing with pneumonia and bronchitis. And that's something in the past that I had trouble with. He doesn't take turkey tail mushroom, but I was able to quickly recover from that. I had terrible symptoms of COVID. I had long COVID, and I it bumped up my immune system by taking a combination of the chaga, reishi, and turkey tail. That's what I call my COVID booster that I take
Oh,
to
okay.
help with increasing that. Turkey tail is another one that's the go-to for cancer. Lots of videos on YouTube, how it's an anti-cancer um, propellant, that it helps heal your body. It also boosts your immune system and your gut health
Mhm.
as well, with very low risk, if any. So to turkey tail, I haven't really seen any negative effect. I've seen different studies with the amount and dosage that people range from taking about 3 grams a day to 9 grams a day to get rid of advanced cancer. So of course, I'm not a doctor. I just do lots of research, and I
Right.
always encourage people to do their own research to know, do you have any allergies with taking any supplements? even food that you ingest, always be aware of what your underlying health conditions that you have to check with your doctor first.
So people that been taking pharmaceutical for a long time, how can they, I guess if people that could be watching this, how can they switch from pharmaceutical to those supplements? Or they should just
Yeah,
talk to I mean, I know talking to the doctor would be okay, but some people
of
I
course.
guess they're scared, to switch.
Yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to do your own research to learn what, to run it by your doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I've noticed in my studies that if you do take a blood thinner medication, if you're on a Coumadin or warfarin, that you need to be careful and not take lion's mane. That can thin your blood even more, and that can be tough to control your blood disorder. Also, if you have an upcoming surgery, that you have to be careful with lion's mane as well. But for the most part, I have personally not seen any side effects, any negative side effects in myself in my years of taking functional mushrooms. I've seen nothing but good as it as a supplement, and how it's helped me become more focused and help me from getting sick and not having the issues that I had with having COVID, the long COVID, and I was able to quickly recover from the symptoms that I had from COVID. So I personally have seen nothing but amazing results from taking the functional mushrooms. But of course, I encourage everybody to do your research and know what's right for you and your body. But my personal opinion is that it can help so many people with very little cost in comparison and side effects, because most pharmaceutical medications come with a high side effect to the medication. And I personally have seen no negative side effects with myself.
Yeah. And some people they're used to taking the same drugs, through a doctor because they feel like that's the best method. Um, but my other question was people that are taking or people that are just starting off, taking lion's mane or, whatever they choose. How much is there like a particular dose to do every day that you recommend or for people that just starting out?
I would say go again with what feels right to your body. Myself, if I'm feeling sick, then I'm going to take 4 or 5 droppers a day of turkey tail. So with lion's mane, I generally take it in the morning and then I take it mid-afternoon. I take a dropper in the morning and a dropper in the afternoon. So it's totally up to you and your body. And of course, with your doctor recommendation, what they of course back it. So with taking any supplements, you have to keep that in mind, to understand. You have to know your body better than anybody, but also to start things, go at your own pace with anything new that you're trialing, and do that research.
Yeah. So you were talking about earlier ADHD and did you mention the which supplement would be for that or is it pretty much all of them? The different mushrooms, which specialized is that?
Yeah, I personally I have a new line of tinctures coming out. This is my sleep one that I have right here,
Okay.
but I have one that's focus that I have
Mhm.
been
Oh,
trialing on myself for a little while, and that's lion's mane, cordyceps, and a skullcap.
mm,
Skullcap's not a mushroom, but it's an amazing supplement to help with focus, and that's my morning go-to. I personally have switched from drinking a lot of coffee to taking cordyceps mushrooms. Cordyceps mushrooms is the energy mushroom, the endurance mushroom. Back in the 90s, the Chinese Olympic team was getting better results than everyone else, and they thought that they were taking steroids when it was just cordyceps mushrooms. And for a while, that there was this time where it was tough to create a cordyceps mushroom that wasn't, because it's a parasitic mushroom and it grew on insects, and now you can grow it
oh,
in a lab. And so, but cordyceps mushrooms is another one of my favorite go-to. I don't take that at night. At nighttime, I take a blend of um, reishi and valerian, and actually this one, reishi, valerian, and um, mugwort
oh
that
yeah.
have an amazing relaxing effect. Reishi is excellent for anti-aging, also for de-stress. The um, help with a lot of different, of course, boost your immune system. Chaga is one of my favorites too. I wasn't a huge fan of it in the past because I didn't quite understand it, and that it doesn't quite look like a mushroom. It looks more like a tree bark, and it
Mm.
helps lower your blood sugar. So that's another thing you have to be careful with. If you're diabetic and you're watching your blood sugar, it can actually drop it so much that it
Oh
can make
wow.
it, yeah, where you have to monitor your blood sugar.
So what do you
So, but
think
this,
oh, I'm
oh,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
What do you think about people that they're so used to the pharmaceutical industry that they think that that's the only way to go? But it's just that they don't really commercialize, mushrooms and the benefits. Um, so how do we get people like that to kind of change their mind, get them out of that programming? Because it is programming, since they're just focused on just the pharmaceutical and they're their doctor. Um, do you think, I mean, I'm wondering what you think about that. Like, what, I don't know. I guess I'll just let you go and,
Yeah,
and say.
I think that it has a lot to do with our nutrition and our health when it comes down to it. Different issues and problems that you could have can be fixed with your diet. And being
Mhm.
aware of that and what you're lacking and changing up your diet, taking a multivitamin supplement. But of course, different things like how now when I feel like a sickness is coming on, and I had a round of COVID go around at my work and I was really nervous, and I actually handed out turkey tail and had different people taking turkey tail
Mhm.
mushrooms that were somewhat skeptical. I'm like, hey, just try this. And then they found out, one of my coworkers found out that it actually helped her allergies. And so she's taking it year round, that she's off her allergy medication and she's taking
Mhm.
the turkey tail replacement of it. I personally enjoy taking a liquid form. I started taking a powder form when I first started my research with a different brand. But what I didn't like that it was so many pills. It was 4 pills a day,
Oh,
and
wow.
I just didn't like that. This is so much easier. You can add it to your coffee or your drink that you have. Not the sleep one. Well, I mean, you could add
Right.
the sleep one. You just don't want to take it in the morning. So you can add it. This is the Cordyceps one
You
here.
know,
You can add it to whatever you're drinking. You can put it on your tongue. You can have a little bit of water and take it like a shot. So it's really I think just a win-win for me. But of course, you have to, follow your body and do your research and know that if you're making that transition off of your pharmaceutical drugs, that you understand the if you have any underlining health conditions that might come up for it. But for me personally, now I've gone from not taking allergy medicine, not taking flu medication or cold medication, or what's the other thing? Or caffeine. So, and being able to have this more natural approach with very little side effects to it.
so
That
people that,
it's yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was just gonna say so people that have drink like alcohol beverages, because that alters their state of consciousness. Um, Now that you like, I don't know your life as, I mean, we've all had alcohol, but I mean, we still do sometimes, but anyway, for me, I don't really drink, but anyway, so what do you feel, based on your studies about that, about alcohol, and then functional mushrooms, like, how do you feel that's changed for you? Like,
Yeah,
your
alcohol
life?
with functional mushrooms, not as much as the psilocybin mushrooms. Psilocybin
Hmm.
mushrooms are different than the functional mushrooms. They don't give you any
Yeah.
hallucination or any kind of a altered state. But with
Yeah.
the psilocybin mushrooms, that they do change your it puts you in the neuroplasticity state, which can change your habits that you have.
Hmm.
Alcohol, I believe, is truly addictive, and that people don't realize. I personally didn't realize that I was relying on it to relax, versus now I rely more on a natural approach with CBD and reishi.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
have one of my favorite mocktails that I drink. It has cordyceps mushrooms in it and CBD and lion's mane, which is amazing because all those things help you feel that relaxed state without the alcohol. I personally believe alcohol is poison, but it's so for me it had been so such a social thing, especially when I became
Hmm.
21. In my environment where I live, it's just a normal thing to drink alcohol, and I used to really enjoy it and make me, feel relaxed and be able to be more social. but now starting with the research of the microdosing with psilocybin mushrooms and the macrodosing and having that change, that was one of the side effects personally that I experienced with starting to take the psilocybin mushrooms. The wonderful thing about psilocybin mushrooms is they are not addictive. Actually, I tend to do them very rarely now versus wanting more alcohol. With alcohol, if I had a drink, then the next day I'd want to drink, then the next day I'd want to drink. Like a social thing, or like, oh, this pairs well with food, not realizing that I was relying on that for my relaxation, I guess, that altered state that I was looking for.
Um, when you talked about like the alcohol and it being poison, which I completely agree. I'm not trying to say anything bad about alcohol, but so with psilocybin, I wanted to talk a little about microdosing. Um, and maybe you can share a little bit about microdosing and what like some people think that maybe it doesn't really help, or what is the point. I've been doing it so I know recently, so I know it. I'll just have you take over like what microdosing does or what's
Yeah,
the
microdosing is really interesting because I that's initially how I started versus taking a large dose. And I personally believe that if people want to take psilocybin mushrooms for therapy, that they should start with a microdose to see how your body
yeah.
reacts to that. So I truly believe, even from the first time that I did a microdose. So microdose is, um, I personally call a microdose under 200 milligrams. So I
Mm-hmm.
used to say it was under a gram, but you shouldn't, when you take a microdose, you're not going to feel the heavy effects. You're just going to feel different. You're going to feel relaxed, calm, at ease. People
Yeah.
don't make you as mad. You have a different perspective. You, from the first time, actually, from the first time I took a microdose, and I did about a year and a half of research before I even touched psilocybin mushrooms. I was not a big fan. I didn't want to feel out of my mind. I didn't like that feeling. I liked alcohol because I felt like I could relax, but I had somewhat of control. And I didn't like the idea of taking psilocybin and thought, what if I
Mhm.
have a bad trip? What if I can't control myself? And so when I finally did my first microdose, I could feel it kick in. And I had this calm feeling like I was enough. I personally struggled with feeling like I'm not doing enough. I'm not being a good enough mom. I need to teach my son more. I need to do more, and I'm not doing enough. And then just laying in bed at night going, I should have done more today. And when I did that first microdose, it just hit me, and I was like, I am enough. Like, I'm doing enough. And through that, it gave me a different perspective where I enjoyed my life again. I felt like I was supported, and I had just this different perspective. And of course, you have that from that dopamine and that serotonin that you get from the psilocybin mushrooms. And a lot of people are taking microdosing and macrodosing to help with depression symptoms. A lot of research that helps depression, that's even medication resistant depression, with very little side effects. And the more that people do it, the longer they can go without their medication. So lots of research on the internet. Of course, I encourage you to do your research and to find out contradictions to the microdosing and the psilocybin mushrooms. Of course, be aware if you have any family history of schizophrenia and heart disease. Those are the two no-nos. Definitely don't want to touch that at all. But I I like the idea of microdose. I have a lot of people that in my community that like it as well, because it just, for me, gives me that different perspective and helps me slow down. Of course, my ADD mind helps me slow down and appreciate my life, the people around me. And in exchange, I feel like I have become more productive as well. I believe
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't start with the lion's mane of psilocybin mushrooms, I wouldn't have started a business. That wasn't my intention or my plan. It was just I was taking the next logical step, and I was able to see, okay, here's a opportunity. And one of the reasons actually I started carrying the supplements was because they kept selling out of the brand that I I liked, and so the price kept going up. And I'm like, oh man, it would be great if I just had this, stock of the mushrooms, since I take them every day. But part of my um, love for mushrooms, of course, is the research of seeing does this work? I have Alzheimer's on both sides of my family. I have cancer on both sides of my family. I personally dealt with cancer, and me having memory issues. This is just like a win-win for me of having the combination of functional mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. And so that's what I created my business on, is helping educate people with the health benefits of the psilocybin mushrooms and the functional mushrooms. Of course, it's not legal in everywhere that you live. And I
Yeah.
also have another thing to add, that be careful when you get anything to know where it's coming from. Like, where is
Yeah.
the source of the psilocybin mushrooms? Is it safe? And that the mushroom dosage can also vary depending on the strength of the mushrooms. So if you're having a mushroom that's a stronger version, it may not be a microdose. So just be aware of that, to not take it and go drive in your car, but to just take it on a day off where you can fully relax and be in that moment. I personally feel that when I take a microdose, I can feel the effects about 20 minutes after, but something happens to me. Of course, this is all neurological. When I relax and just accept it, and then it's kind of like a wave comes over me, where I have this different perspective where I'm like, okay, I allow myself to see what I need to see. I allow myself to be in this moment, to have this experience right now. And then I feel that effects as well. The first time I took the microdose, I actually read a book, and my son was making dinner, and he was making me so mad that the place was smelling, and like, I think it was fish or something. And I was like, oh, I'm so mad that he's making a mess. And then when that wave of relaxation came over me, I had this loving feeling towards him, like, wow, I raised him to cook dinner. I used to provide, and now he's providing, for himself, not necessarily providing, but he's able to cook for himself. And that's such a beautiful experience. Also seeing like a crack on the wall, and looking at it differently. And like, that wall crack is there because, the wall is supporting us to be sheltered. It's just different perspective than I would feel if I didn't have psilocybin mushrooms. I remember looking at the table and looking like, wow, the legs support the table. It's amazing how we're all connected, and what kind of a world we would live in if we all encouraged each other to be our best versions of ourselves.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, it's changed my life a lot. And for microdosing, I can see why, just like what you shared with um the experience you've had with microdosing. That's beautiful. I don't even know what I have to say after that, but yeah, so microdosing, I've been doing it I guess a couple months. I'm on and off, and so from what I've noticed, I feel more in tune. Obviously, it helps you be more in tune with your higher self. Um, it helps you, from what I've seen, focus, like you mentioned. Um, I feel like the energy actually moves within yourself and then all around you at the same time. I'm feeling too. So, I love it, and I want to continue to microdose because to me it helps with, as a full-time spiritual advisor, it helps me with my, clientele. And yeah, and it's wonderful. I'm glad I started to do that recently. Um,
Yeah, it's
so
it's amazing, the research too, once you start researching with psilocybin mushrooms and how it's helping people with trauma and addictions. And that was kind of my side effect with alcohol, that I didn't realize that I was being drinking several times a week of wine to help me relax and go to bed, that was kind of becoming an addictive behavior in myself. And so it gave me that different perspective. So of course, the varying levels of psilocybin give you a different result. I've done a few videos on that on my YouTube channel on manifesting alchemy, or alchemy mindset, excuse me, and my experiences with that as well. But if you feel like, where I live in Oregon, you can actually have a facilitator help you go through an experience. So there are centers here where you can have somebody in a safe environment that's a licensed facilitator, excuse me. They're not a licensed therapist, but they're a licensed facilitator here in Oregon. That's a new thing at the beginning of 2023, that those licenses were issued. Different places, Jamaica. A lot of times people go to Jamaica or Mexico to have a psilocybin experience, but I would say just be careful of your environment, of who you're around. I personally don't think of it as a recreational. I think of it as something that is used for therapy, and it's a tool essentially to help you become a better version of yourself. Of course, you still have to take that action and do the work of knowing your intention that you want out of your life and where you want it to go, and using that to help you create those new neural pathways, those new habits that just become your norm, that you're just incorporating that with the psilocybin mushrooms as a tool, then it becomes the most beneficial.
I agree. I did want to mention this. So I'm going to go a little bit back towards the functional mushrooms.
Mhm.
What's the, like, if people want to go to the store and buy it, what do you recommend they find in the product? And I know places like Sprouts, Natural Grocers, from where I'm in Texas, with the area I'm at. So what would you say about that?
I personally believe that you should get a fruited body mushroom. That's what my brand is fruited body. Of course, you can get it off my site, somashaman.com, but I'm just happy when people take functional mushrooms and have amazing results. So there are some brands that are mycelium based, and usually those are less expensive than the fruited body. So I personally compare it to having Kool-Aid versus wine. Like, you're going to want a stronger effect of the fruited body, the whole mushroom versus the mycelium. There's some, arguments that mycelium is just as good, but I personally always gravitate towards a fruited body. I have a alcohol-based extraction, but I have a new, soon to be trialing a new glycerin-based one as well. So it has a different flavor than the alcohol-based one.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely share your website and um your information. Um, what else I was gonna ask you? Is there anything else you think that I was gonna ask you this now that I just remembered.
Yeah.
If you could see a world 10 or 20 years from now, with this new, well, that's not new, but for people, not a lot of people are really knowledgeable about it. What would you say? What would you say about that? Like throwing away pharmaceutical, you know?
Yeah. I think that that's an amazing, for me, it gives me hope for the future to know that
Mhm.
there are research out there where Alzheimer's is being reversed. Seeing both my grandmas on both sides suffer from Alzheimer's, and yeah, knowing that there's no medication to reverse it, and knowing that these trials are happening where in rats the Alzheimer's is being reversed, that gives me hope for the future. That keeps me going with my community of biologists and chemists that help me with my research and my trials that I do on myself, of course. And that gives me hope for the future, because knowing that the pharmaceutical companies, the cost is so high, the side effects are not good. So, but that's a personal decision that I feel like people have to look at.
Mhm.
My dog also takes functional mushrooms, so it's safe for your pets as well. So if he
Oh,
takes a turkey tail,
that's a good thing to talk about.
yeah,
Let's talk
yeah.
about that with your
So
pets. So go ahead and go with.
yeah, and you can add that to your pet's food as well. The turkey tail is great for them, cordyceps. So he's an older dog and it helps him a lot. But I was going to mention that Eastern medicine has been doing this for many, many years. I had a friend, and she's in her late 50s, and she told me that when she was a child, that her mom would give her a tea of turkey tail mushrooms anytime that they were sick. So this has been
Oh, wow.
around for a while. It's just new to us. It's newer
Oh,
to
I'm
us,
sorry.
and so
What time frame did you say that was?
when she was a child, so probably, um, you know, 40 years ago or so,
Oh,
that
wow.
she was, yeah, that she was taking that. So, and of course, back in the 90s, when the Chinese Olympic team, so in Eastern medicine, they've been doing this for years. They know that, so they eat a lot of shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms, and in particular, I've read a lot of research from my friend that is a doctor, helps me, and shiitake mushrooms helps men in particular with prostate cancer health, and women with cervical cancer, of course, because it boosts your immune system. And I've been taking it for a while, and it doesn't really have any side effects to it. So it's something that you can take. What, do you want to sit up here? Okay, sit up here. Hey, come on, get up here. But it's gonna not. You wants to be
There we
part of
go.
it?
He wants
Okay.
to be on
Yes,
camera.
you gonna be part of it? Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah.
have another question. Gosh, it was just in my mind. You were talking about um pets and what it was. Um, well, I don't want to take too much time just thinking. So what else do you feel we
There are
should
quite a
know?
few supplements in the pet store that have the lion's mane, turkey tail, chaga. Fresh
Mhm.
Cat Mushrooms has one that's in a chew. Roscoe really likes that one. So now it's just easier. Since I have a supply, I go to my go-to here, functional mushrooms, but they have a chew for dogs, and he liked that one a lot. There's a really interesting, I was going to post it on my Soma Shaman YouTube, a veterinarian that was doing research in chaga in particular, with, of course, boost your immune system and how it helps dogs with health issues. And by adding that powder, he does it in a powder form to
Mhm.
his dog's dog food, helped boost their dog's immune system.
Oh wow, amazing.
So
Um,
it's always better when you hear it, of course, from a vet doing their medical background. So I have a background in medical things that, of course, I'm not a biologist or a chemist. I've just researched, and I'm passionate about this because I see results, because I see it in myself and in other people, and so that leads me to go, okay, well, let's trial this. Let's see this. But of course, long term, I absolutely love the idea of people healing and becoming the best version of them. I had somebody ask me, said, well, what are you going to do when this blows up and everybody's doing, psilocybin mushrooms and functional mushrooms, and, you have no market for it anymore? I said, well, that's the world I want to live in. Like, I want people to be their best self, because then it's like, what are you
yeah.
going to create? What are you going to do next? What are you going to, we don't have Alzheimer's. We have people that don't have cancer and that are extending their life period. What can they create with that extra time that they have?
You know, even just growing, like I'll just use an example, lion's mane at home, you can grow it. That's a legal thing to do to grow, lion's
Absolutely. Yeah.
mane.
Yeah. And depending on your state that you live in, you have to, of course, look into what state you live in.
Mhm.
It may be legal to grow psilocybin mushrooms in the
Mhm.
state that you live in, so that you can purchase the spores and you can go through the process of growing it yourself. Some states it's not legal to do that in.
Right.
But of course, the functional mushrooms like lion's mane, you can buy a kit in the mail and grow them on your kitchen counter. I personally love the taste of lion's mane. I found if you marinate it and press it into like a steak and make tacos out of it, that's amazing. I love the flavor and I love the taste. And actually, when I started doing psilocybin mushrooms, I was drawn to healthier foods in general, that I had
Mhm.
less of a desire for meat, and even candy. I felt like it tasted like plastic to me, that everything was
Oh, it's like it like
had a
kind of
different effect. Yeah,
like a
because it
detox.
changes that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it creates that detox. It creates those new neural pathways, the things that you were addicted to, that you felt that you needed that dopamine, that was fulfilling
Mhm.
that need. So when I looked after I did my first microdose, and the next day I looked at a cookie and I looked at it and thought, is this going to give me the optimal nutrition for my body? It wasn't like cookies are bad. It wasn't like I shouldn't eat a cookie. It was just like, is this going to fuel my body to what I need it to be, to help me feel really good? So I had a different
Yeah.
perspective with food.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, sorry, do you want to talk a little about your retreat or what you want to build with the retreat? If that's okay, if not,
Yeah, with my retreat, I originally wanted to create it to have a place where people can do psilocybin mushrooms in a safe environment. I truly believe that's really important. I have a friend that goes to Jamaica and does retreats there, and because it's legal there, and it's to have a team of people that you trust, you have the best results. I truly feel
Mhm.
that it's important to be in a safe environment and to do that. But with the rules in the state that I live in, it's become increasingly difficult to have that, to have a center like that. And so my direction now that I've gone to is having more of an area where you can go out in the woods and glamp, and then have retreats where you can learn about your health and your nutrition and how to grow psilocybin mushrooms, because that is legal here to learn how to grow it. Of course,
Yeah.
the amount that you have personally, that varies, and that can, depending on how much you have, can be a felony. But as far as the learning how to grow mushrooms and how to cook with them and have that nutritional benefits, and how important different techniques that you can do in combination to have the better results with psilocybin mushrooms. I personally love sound healing, different frequency hertz. I have some on my website or excuse me, my YouTube channel of Alchemy Mindset that helps you when you're in that neuroplasticity state. I believe I have an amplified effect when I listen to different frequency hertz when
What's
you're experiencing.
what state are you from? Because some people might not have heard that. I'll just put it
Yeah,
in again
yeah,
here.
in Oregon. So,
Okay.
and I live here
Oregon.
in Oregon, yes. So, and that's where I intend to have that, and then to branch out. Of course, Colorado's another state. They have the similar to Oregon, where it's, I believe, I don't know the details of it, but they're, I believe, a little bit more lax than we are. Different therapists as well in California can give you psilocybin mushrooms with a licensed therapist. So it depends on your area, your location, where you are, that your guidelines of what is legal and illegal. So, and like I said before, be very careful where you get your psilocybin mushrooms. Very scary. You don't want anyone to take fentanyl or have anything mixed in with it that they shouldn't be taking. And to do, always do your research. Don't take
Yeah.
my word for it. I'm doing my research,
Right.
and I love to share it with people, but I always say, do your research, try it on yourself, see how you feel. So
Yeah, I agree with
that,
that.
I do want to have a safe space where people can just help and be educated and to help themselves become the best version of them.
Plants that are like um coming from yourself, or like, I'm just picking this up as we're talking. Plants, like you're basically putting that in your DNA, and like putting it's giving you what your body needs. I feel like, well, it's not just what you grow, it also can be when if you give it you buy it from a trusted source, but it's giving you what your body needs, your consciousness, it's giving you downloads, information, um and it's
Yeah, and our vitamins and nutrition. A lot of times people are depressed and dealing with depression symptoms or sicknesses because they're lacking nutrition, because they're lacking those vitamins and minerals that we need.
yeah.
And there's one of my favorite books called The Mood Cure, and it talks about how people are often low in amino acids and they have depression like symptoms when really they just need that amino acids. Because if you have a highly processed diet, you're not getting the nutrition. You're going to have essentially what I call like low vibration. Crystal will probably call it the same, low vibration, where you're not at
Yeah.
your best version of you, where you're on your A game and you're like, hey, I'm creating, I'm growing, I'm expanding, I'm
It
becoming best version of me, and helping other people that become that too.
Yeah, because processed food, they're putting chemicals, so those chemicals are affecting our DNA, affecting our way of thinking, consciousness. So we want it stay away from processed stuff as much as possible. Um, and same with alcohol beverages. I'm not trying to go against that, but I've learned that you can have um, microdosing can be kind of a substitute for that, in my opinion. So what would you say about that?
Oh, absolutely. I
Substitute.
personally, that's my personal opinion. Of course,
Sure.
that based on my own research, and I would love, and I'm working with somebody else with different research of helping people with addictions. There's a lot of studies right now that people that are addicted to smoking, and they had a high success rate with psilocybin mushrooms. I believe it was a gram. I can't remember off the top of my head, that were given, and it worked better than any medication for not smoking. That it was, people were able to quickly drop that habit. My assumption is based on the fact that you get that different perspective where you're like, okay, this is not good for me. This is not helping me become, just like me with the cookie. So it's like, is this helping you become a better you? But when you're dealing with something that is so highly addictive, so I didn't realize how addictive alcohol was, and the toxin that it was, and so it gave me that different perspective, and realizing I don't always make the best decisions with when I'm taking drinking alcohol as well versus taking the psilocybin mushrooms. I personally believe, I haven't done this but I've heard different people that say they are not able to fully process their emotions and if they take it in a recreational type setting. So, but
Hmm.
when you're over the age of 30 and you have these set neural pathways, these habits, and you're able to have something that breaks that we've, carried for many, many years,
Mm.
it's amazing to see what comes to the surface and what you're able to clear out and just have that reset.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was gonna mention something after you said that. Huh. Um, trying to remember. Might have to edit this video. Um, what was it? You were talking. Oh, this is what I wanted to mention. You know how we were talking about, I was mentioning how when I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, downtown this past December, and I went into that bar. It's not really a bar, but because like I don't want to call it a bar because it's well, it is a bar, but they don't have actual alcohol. They have functional mushrooms, CBD. Like that was what the spot was, and I think it's a really clever idea to have something like that because I've never personally been to a place like that. So anyway, I gosh, I was gonna say something with that. I'm trying to remember. It was
Yeah,
something you
it's
said.
nice. I
Oh, go
feel
ahead.
like there's a lot of where I live. Yeah, craft breweries are a huge thing, and
Mhm.
alcohol, it's very social. It's like, let's get together for a drink and have a drink. And having now different non-alcoholic, the Altitude, my favorite brand, of course, that I worked for, and they have their CBD mocktail drinks. It's nice to have something that you can drink that helps you feel relaxed, but you're not
Yes,
drinking
thank
alcohol.
you. Thank you for bringing that up. Now I remember. I have got a CBD. Oh, no, no, wait, was it CBD? Yeah, a CBD beverage. It was like a big, like, just like a, I don't know, remember how many ounces. But anyway, I drank the whole thing. I should have done that because I was very, like, connected, like, um, I can, like, instead of getting, drunk off of a beverage, I'm getting not drunk, but I'm getting, the effects of CBD from a beverage. So I thought that was interesting, it's actually a better
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
substitute.
Well, I was doing the transition, yeah, of getting out of drinking wine to, at
Yeah.
nightly to help me relax from my day job. I switched to drinking some CBD drinks,
Mhm.
non-THC drinks. I don't particularly do well with THC.
Oh yeah, it had
Having
THC. It had
yeah, of having
THC.
the
Yeah.
yeah. And of course, that's where it comes into doing your research. So just
Mhm.
because anyone says anything, you have to know your body. You have to know you. You have to know how your body is reacting. But having something as an alternative, that's where I feel like there's hope. That's what motivates me to tell people, try this, see how you feel. Do you feel better when you take functional mushrooms? Do you feel better when you take, microdosing? Is that something that's helping you give you the result that you're looking for, helping you
Yeah.
become that
Yeah, because
improved state.
I like this new way is with instead of alcohol, like the poison, we're drinking CBD with THC and a little bit of THC. That gives you that altered state. Um, Instead of having, alcohol that's not good for you, that's liquor or whatever. But and I'm not saying that to all liquor. I'm just trying to compare what we have with the
Yeah, and you'll
CBD and
know with
the
your body. Yeah, that was just one of the side effects that it wasn't my intention that I was like, I'm taking microdosing so I can quit drinking. It was one of the side effects. It was something that came to light when
Mhm.
I was with the microdosing and that I also felt from the macrodosing, realizing when I drank and especially hard liquor that I wasn't making the best decisions. I wasn't myself. I was somebody else and I was escaping instead of
Yeah.
processing, helping me to grow as a human. I didn't like how that effect felt like I was taking a step back. That was one of the side effects, of course, that I experienced. So everyone will have different based on your body, you're going to have different results. You're going to have different experiences because our brains are all different. But what I generally hear, the consensus, is that I've heard so many people say this over and over, that it's like having therapy with a macrodose with over 1 to 2 grams, like having years and years of therapy in a session. So of course, depending on the amount that you take, it's going to vary how long it is. And you have to be aware of that you're in a safe space, that you're prepared. It can cause nausea when you take a lot of psilocybin as well, that you're in a state to process what you need to process to help you heal and help you have that different perspective that you need.
I
That's
agree
deep
with
that you
that.
can't
Mhm.
access otherwise.
Yeah. For people that could be watching this that maybe were dealing with um alcohol, or like maybe they were drinking heavily, or people that maybe been they're recovering from drug addiction, what would you say for those people that may want to start taking these supplements or this
That I would
medicine?
say, yeah, if you have some underlying health I would consider that underlying health condition, so that you would need to consult your doctor to find out. Of course, this is an amazing alternative to it, but that's up to you of wanting to take that on and knowing your body.
Yeah.
There, like I said, it's been lots of research how it can help repair those neural pathways, give you a new, different perspective, and help with that addictive behavior, that you get that reset. But of course, it's a tool to help you. You
Hmm.
have to know that your body, if you're going to fight it and you're not going to allow it, then you're not going to have the best result. And of course, if you have those issues of schizophrenia, things like that, then you have to be aware of that as well. And you might be a really good candidate for going to the centers where you can have that therapy with a one-on-one with a facilitator as well. But it's an amazing alternative, and I encourage everyone to do their own research into it as well, depending on your particular health condition that you have, and knowing that there's an alternative. That's what I like to offer to people, that hey, there's an alternative. See what you think, but be aware: schizophrenia, heart disease, those two things
Yeah.
and
And
alter your experience. So if you have schizophrenia and you take psilocybin mushrooms, it can actually put you into a state of schizophrenia that
mhm,
can last months. It can be very traumatic for people. So if you have a family history of that, it's another thing to be aware of, that you may not want to take psilocybin mushrooms
yeah,
to help with that.
mhm,
You may be worse off than you started.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so people can look out for that or be aware of it. We were talking about um, functional mushrooms and their health benefits. I think we discussed all of that. Is there anything that maybe I didn't ask? I'm trying to think. I want to make sure we covered
I
everything.
Yeah, I think that if you are drawn to this, if it's something that interests you, if you have um, health conditions from cancer to even allergies to wanting to boost your immune system, wanting to feel less stress, things that you want an alternative to, this is something for you to look into and to start doing that research and
Yeah.
knowing that there are alternatives to the prescription medications, pharmaceuticals that we've all grown up with. That was just the norm. So this is something to give you that different perspective, to say, this is something that you're drawn to, then please give it a try, and see how you feel. How does your body feel, and how does your body react to that as well?
Yeah, it's changed my life. CBD and also functional mushrooms and psilocybin. It's all changed my life. So I don't know if I can put into words how well it's helped me. It definitely helped me because I think I had ADHD when I was younger because I had a hard time focusing, but I started putting in CBD and I started doing the functional mushrooms, and I feel like that's actually cured me in many ways. So I don't obviously,
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
fantastic to have an alternative to something that gives you hope. So of course, has changed my life. It's made me more ambitious, more driven, more empathetic to people. And also it's helped me um, connect to a better version of me, where I will take that time to appreciate a moment. I'll appreciate a day. I'll have a different perspective versus I'm not doing enough to, I'm doing plenty. I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm thankful for my home. I'm thankful for my dog and for my teenager eating all my food. So it's given me that, for me, it's given me that um, different, of course, perspective that I just love to share with other people and help them um, know that there's an alternative to whatever that their ailment, and to encourage them to understanding their nutrition as well, and that it's a whole um, their nutritional health with their nutrition, to their well-being, to helping
Mhm.
them become the most productive version of themselves.
Well, thank you, Kara. I'm gonna put your information and I'm gonna put your website and what you um have your Instagram and all your information. I'll put it on
Yeah.
here so that people can find your products. But I want to say thank you and I also want to thank everybody that's watching this and I want to wrap it up. Thank you so much and we learned so much. I learned so much from all of this. Thank you. And so I guess I'll say
Thanks,
bye.
Crystal.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.